idea that like we would have won something.
No, but he's would have won something. But like the team what he's named there, James.
I know, but the French team was well better. Yeah. The Brazil team was better.
They invented the game, yet they can't seem to conquer it. Since 1966, the nation that calls itself the home of football has chased glory on the world's biggest stage and failed. Generations of world-class players have come and gone. From the heartbreak of Italia '90 to the penalty shootout nightmares of Euro 2020, one question haunts every England fan. How can the birthplace of football keep coming up short? In this video, we're breaking down the myths, the mistakes, and the moments that have kept England waiting for a trophy for nearly 6 decades. It all began with glory. In 1966, England stood at the summit of world football. Wembley roared as Bobby Moore lifted the Jules Rimet trophy. That summer, the dream became reality, and for many, it felt like the start of an era. But it wasn't. What followed was not a dynasty, but decades of disappointment. England failed to qualify for the World Cup in 1974 and 1978. The 1980s brought moments of brilliance, the flair of Glenn Hoddle, the leadership of Brian Robson, yet no silverware. Then came the 1990s, a decade defined by hope and heartbreak. Italia '90, the tears of Paul Gascoigne, a semi-final loss to West Germany on penalties. Euro 96 on home soil should have been redemption, but again, penalties crushed the dream. For a nation so rich in football history, the pattern was clear: talent wasn't enough. Something deeper was holding England back. The new millennium promised a new dawn. A fresh generation emerged: David Beckham, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney. The media called them the golden generation. The talent was undeniable, the expectations enormous. This was supposed to be the team to end decades of hurt. But instead of unity, England's biggest stars were divided by fierce club rivalries. Manchester United, Liverpool, and Chelsea players brought their battles from the Premier League into the national camp. The result? A team of world-class individuals who could never truly become a world-class team. Quarter-final exits became the norm. World Cup 2002, Euro 2004, World Cup 2006. England were good enough to scare the best, but never good enough to beat them when it mattered most. And as the years passed, the question grew louder. Was this really bad luck, or was England's problem something much deeper? By the end of the 2000s, the golden generation was fading, and so was England's identity. The 2010 World Cup in South Africa was a low point. A team stripped of confidence, outplayed and outclassed. The so-called home of football had become an international underachiever. The years that followed were a blur of underwhelming tournaments and managerial changes. Roy Hodgson's England's Euro 2016 exit to Iceland was rock bottom. England, a footballing superpower in reputation, looked powerless on the pitch. Then came Gareth Southgate, a calm, composed figure who rebuilt the team's spirit. Young talents emerged: Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden. The squad looked fresher, hungrier, more united than ever. And for a while, it worked. World Cup 2018, semi-finals. Euro 2020, a final at Wembley. But once again, penalties struck like an old curse, breaking English hearts in front of their own fans. World Cup 2022, another promising run, another exit before the final. Euro 2024, another step forward, another final reached, but still, no trophy. For all the progress, the pattern still holds. England's problem isn't just in the past, it's alive in the present. And to understand why, we need to go beyond the matches and look at the root causes of nearly 6 decades without a trophy. Reason 1, the weight of expectation. In England, football isn't just a sport, it's a national identity. Every major tournament comes with the same chorus: "This is our year." And with every failure, the pressure only grows heavier. For decades, England's players have stepped onto the pitch not just to win, but to end a curse. That weight can crush even the most talented squad. Unlike other nations, where success is celebrated, in England, anything less than a trophy is treated as failure, and that fear of failure seeps into the players' performances. Psychologists call it choking under pressure. You stop playing naturally. You play not to lose instead of playing to win. And when the stakes are highest, penalty shootouts, knockout matches, that fear becomes the deciding factor. This is why England's story is filled with moments where the team freezes at the key moment. It's not a lack of skill, it's the unbearable burden of history. Reason 2. Tactical stubbornness. For years, England's biggest weakness wasn't the players, it was the plan. While other nations adapted their style to the demands of modern football, England often stuck rigidly to outdated systems. The English way, direct, physical, fast-paced, worked in the domestic league, but at international level, it was predictable and easy to counter. In the 2000s, the golden generation was shoehorned into formations that didn't suit them. Gerrard and Lampard, two of the best midfielders in the world, were forced to play the same roles side by side, leaving the team unbalanced. Central players were played wide, creative midfielders were benched for more safe options, and tactical risks were rarely taken. Even in the modern Southgate era, tactical conservatism has been a recurring criticism. Against elite opposition, England often sit back, protect a lead, and hope to hold on, rather than control the game. This caution has led to narrow defeats when bravery might have brought glory. Football evolves. The teams that win trophies, Spain 2010, Germany 2014, France 2018, Argentina 2022, adapt and innovate. England, too often, has been caught playing catch-up. Reason 3. Penalty shootout trauma. No image haunts England more than the sight of an England player walking back from the penalty spot, head down, the opposition celebrating. For decades, shootouts have been England's recurring nightmare, and it's not just bad luck. Since 1990, England have lost 7 of their 9 major tournament penalty shootouts. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. And patterns in sport often come from psychology. Every miss adds to the myth. Every myth adds to the pressure. And every player who steps up knows the history and fears becoming part of it. Other nations treat penalties as a skill to be mastered. Italy, Germany, Argentina have dedicated routines, mental preparation, and a culture of composure. England, for much of their history, treated them as a cruel lottery. By the time Southgate introduced structured penalty training, the scars were already deep. It's why, in Euro 2020's final at Wembley, 3 young players missed in front of their home fans. The technique wasn't the problem, the weight of history was. Until England learns to treat penalties as an opportunity rather than a curse, the cycle will be hard to break. Reason 4. Flawed youth development philosophy. For decades, England's youth system valued power over precision. The ideal young player wasn't the most creative, it was the strongest, the fastest, the one who could get stuck in. Technical skill, ball control, and tactical intelligence often took a back seat to raw physicality. While Spain and Germany were building academies focused on developing intelligent, technically gifted players, England's grassroots football was built on results, not development. Coaches picked the biggest kid for center forward, the tallest for center back, and flair players were often seen as risky luxuries. The result? England produced incredible athletes, but far fewer midfield maestros who could dictate a game. That's why, for years, the nation struggled to produce players in the mold of Xavi, Iniesta, or Pirlo, the very types who thrive at the highest level. This started to change after the disastrous 2010 World Cup, when the FA overhauled coaching methods and introduced the Elite Player Performance Plan. Now, talents like Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, and Adam Wharton are proof that England can produce technical brilliance. But the change is recent, and decades of neglect left a gap that still affects the national team today.
Mr. Liverpool, Rio the same took on Manchester United. You feel so passionately about the club you play with, your teammates, your own performance and yourself, that to be a bit pally with someone down the road who you're competitive with.
But didn't that hold back England?
It may have done.
Reason 5. Club rivalries poisoning national unity. At its peak, the Premier League is the most competitive domestic league in the world, but for England's national team, that competitiveness has often been a curse. In the 2000s, the so-called Golden Generation featured stars from Manchester United, Liverpool, and Chelsea, players who were fierce rivals week in, week out. Those rivalries didn't disappear when they wore the England shirt. Steven Gerrard has admitted that Liverpool and United players would barely speak to each other in training camps. Rio Ferdinand revealed that friendships across club lines were often avoided to maintain intensity in the league. Instead of being one united squad, England became a collection of club cliques. Other nations, like Spain in 2010 or France in 2018, managed to set aside domestic rivalries to chase international glory. England, too often, let those divisions linger. And in tournament football, where unity and chemistry matter as much as talent, those invisible walls can be the difference between winning and falling short. While the Southgate era has repaired much of this divide, the scars of the past still shape the culture. A reminder that football is as much about trust and togetherness as it is about tactics. After another heartbreaking near miss at Euro 2024, the FA made a bold move, appointing Thomas Tuchel as England's new manager, a Champions League winner with Chelsea, a tactician known for meticulous detail, adaptability, and a relentless winning mentality. Tuchel isn't here to play safe. He's here to rewrite the ending of a story that's been on repeat for nearly 6 decades. But the question remains, can Thomas Tuchel, the outsider with a proven record, finally turn the home of football into the home of champions? Or will history repeat itself? Enjoyed this video? Like it. Drop your thoughts below. Can Tuchel finally bring football home? And don't forget to subscribe for more big football stories.